Welcome to DevOps Accents, a podcast on everything around DevOps, public cloud, and cloud-native topics, with your hosts, Pablo, Leo, and Kirill.
Hello and welcome to another episode of DevOps Accents. And it appears it takes 50 episodes for me to finally realize that I don't have to make an introduction every time, because we have an intro that you just heard. That introduces the host of the podcast, me, Pablo, Kirill. So this is us. Hi, Pablo. Thank you for helping me today.
Hello, everyone.
If this is your first episode and this is your first time here and you're listening to us, we are MK Dev. We provide consulting and engineering services for your cloud infrastructure and data and everything that is cloud-based, making sure that your infrastructure is well optimized and ready for your application and business needs and can handle whatever artificial intelligence or else challenges you have. And here on DevOps Accents, we discuss all things around DevOps and industry as a whole, inviting guests and experts from different corners of it and with different backgrounds to better understand what we are dealing with and where we are going as IT. So if you are into things like it, make sure to be subscribed and not to miss another episode. And today we are invited to join us the co-founder of VoxMail, Caolan Melvin. Hi, Caolan.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on board.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So, Caolan, you were a part of a number of successful startups such as Irish loyalty app, Squid, and British fintech platform BizCrunch. Those who listen to us, you probably know them if you live in United Kingdom, but and maybe even beyond. But now you decided to start your own company, VoxMail, and this is how we met during South Talk 2024 in Dublin, the conference we've been attending. Your VoxMail, Caolan, is challenging issues around customer support, while everyone is aiming for the AI or integrating it in their products and pipelines. You try to bring back the human element with your startup. And this is something we wanted to discuss today. But before we deep into that swamp and argue about whether it's too early to go back to the roots, let's talk a little bit about you first. And since you are on the DevOps Accents, I can't help but ask, what is your accent?
My accent? So I'm from Ireland. Although people say I don't have the strongest Irish accent, I suppose it depends who I'm kind of talking to. I think maybe when I speak to Irish people, the accent comes out a bit stronger. But yeah, Ireland, I'm from Dublin, Ireland. So that's where my accent would come from.
Yeah, the one thing I always find funny about people from Irish is the way how they pronounce T and at the end of the word, like it sounds more like sh.
Yeah.
It is always funny, and I remember watching. That probably was my first realization when I was watching a TV show on Netflix, and there was one very good actress from Ireland, and she was talking. At first, I thought she has some. I don't know, maybe something wrong with her teeth. but then I realized that's how people talk in Ireland. Like, yeah, this is kind of funny.
Yeah, no, it can be difficult to understand sometimes. I always feel like when for people who are learning English, I feel like the final challenge is understanding like Irish and Scottish people. You know, I feel like sometimes it's very difficult to understand what we're saying.
Yeah, but it's still beautiful. Like I like it a lot because it sounds so different and so I don't know, magical. All right, so this is another delicious accents in our collection of DevOps accents. But speaking of your IT background, and where you are coming from, let's explore this. How did you start, and was it? This is something I love to ask all our guests. Was it a choice or was it an accident for you that you happened to work in IT industry, and how it all started?
Yeah, so I suppose so. When I went to university, I was kind of I didn't really know what subject to do, but all my teachers kind of put me in the direction of computer science. So I decided, all right, I'll study this. And I hated the course. I didn't enjoy doing it at all. And I was like, look, I'll just get my degree, and then maybe I'll find something else out. And so I remember I graduated, and I kind of just wanted to take a break from IT completely. I was like, all right, I got my degree. So I started just trying to get a like a just a normal job, kind of like in a restaurant or something, just like casual job for a little while to take some downtime. And I applied for so many of those jobs, and I couldn't get any of like just these base level jobs that I got an email from my university being like, we're looking for app developers to develop the university app. So I was like, all right, I'll just put in an application for this then, and then I got that job. And then I really enjoyed that. So I was like, okay, no, actually maybe computer science is the route for me, you know? And ever since then, I went from that then into a startup in Ireland. And I suppose I haven't looked back since then. So yeah, I suppose initially when I came out of university, I was probably not really looking to do IT stuff, but then yeah, there's no escaping it really, and I got a taste for it.
Yeah, now probably everything is more or less related to IT, but with your technical background, how do you think like your technical knowledge and your like being ahead of tech in companies evolves through the year, and how would you like position yourself in the industry, like who you are, how you identify yourself, like more like an entrepreneur or like the guy who is in technical things?
Yeah, so obviously I started off as like a software developer, so I would have just been like writing code. But like being all my roles have been at very much just like starting stage companies. So they were all just kind of at idea stage. So a lot of my skill set kind of more developed into turning the idea into live products. And with that kind of came a lot of maybe more kind of technical consulting as well as just writing the code, and like kind of planning stuff out. So over time, being at the startups, I kind of developed that. Like I built so many different MVPs for different companies that I kind of got a gist of like what it is to kind of get the idea put into a product. But then beyond that, because the companies were small, I quite a bit of exposure to other aspects of the business. So I feel like as time kind of developed, and even now, like these days, I probably don't really write that much code at all, where it's more so like I'm focused on firstly on how to make this product, like actually make this idea an actual product. But then beyond that, now I'm kind of looking at the more business aspects of it as well, you know?
I think you are in a position that many of our listeners would like to be, because people usually, when we work as a hired expert and work on someone else's idea and we build something, many of us have our own ideas. I would do this differently. I would run this differently. I would make something better or else. And then not many of us still have this courage to take this step and to abandon your job like as an employee and start something new. How do you think, do you think it was a difficult step for you? And if your technical background and working with startups and knowing like how the business grow from the ground up helped you on this role, and how it in general, how it works for you today in 2024?
Yeah, like, look, those previous roles definitely helped. I had a lot of exposure. Now, I will admit, I'm still learning a lot of these aspects, you know, like when it comes to the product stuff, that's generally, I'm pretty strong with that, but I'm still, like, I have to be honest, like I'm still learning when it comes to kind of like sales, marketing, that kind of side of things. So it's still a learning curve, but yeah, the previous roles were definitely a great help because I'm not coming in completely blind, with myself. So, so like it did give me a bit more confidence to know that I can build a product is like the first step, like, so that's a confidence that I've grown from my previous roles. And I suppose once you have a product, then you're you're halfway there to setting up the company, because you have something that you can start selling. So yeah, I've been lucky in that regards,
Because I think that this is let's say, the main problem when you create a company, because you're an IT person and you are very good doing IT themes. And IT themes is, okay, I made the product, but the product is nothing. So let's say, let me explain that. When you have a company, you discover that the product is nothing, it's a product, There are many people who can do products, because later on you need to take care of the taxes, you need to take care of the finance, and you have the biggest problem. You need to take care of the sales, because you need to start to do something that you thought before that it was sorry, sales. This is not for me. This is only for this guy. But there is a problem, because when it is your company, you discover that the sales is the most important part. Because if there is no sales, there is no company. There is a famous sentence. If you are not selling, you have a hobby. You don't have a company. So, and this is the problem, because apart from that, you need to take decisions, and those decisions are not related if I'm going to use JavaScript or I'm not going to use JavaScript. So those decisions are related to the company, and okay, I'm going to talk with this guy. I'm going to try to go in this direction, in this other direction. I'm going to raise money. And for me, this is the main point when you have a company. And this is, is the jump from to be an IT and to be an entrepreneur. So for me, is crazy the work that the people is doing, and it's super difficult.
It's definitely tough, because like, I suppose as a software developer, you kind of just get given your work, sit down and do it. There's not really too much interaction as well with other people. When you take the step out to run your company, you're constantly, like, my days are just spent like just talking to people and on meetings and stuff, which is a complete change of pace to what I'd been doing previously. So yeah, like it is a big jump, and things do just change. As I said, like, I barely get time to type any code anymore. That's just not really what my job is anymore,
Yeah, because you now are not anymore a developer.
Yeah.
Now a co-founder, CEO, CTO, CXO, or everything that you're. And this is what is the game changer, because since now, you're going to have conversation as you're telling daily with people that maybe you think, oh, I don't want to talk with this guy. But the problem is that you have no idea if maybe in 3, 6, 10 months, this guy is going to offer to you something, or something is going to happen because you know this person. And this is the problem, because at the end you discover that the relations are the key of everything. Because as one person that had a meeting yesterday with her, she was telling that the relations are between person in the companies, not between companies, because really there are no companies. There are person only. And it's super, super, super different.
Speaking of relationships and conversation, let's give a little overview for those who listens to us, what it takes to present your company, your startup, as a person who was previously deeply a technical guy, right? So you've been in so many conferences lately. We've met on SaaS Talk. You were at Web Summit in Lisbon. So you are traveling, basically. You're presenting your startup. How it works for you? Like, do you think? I have so many questions, right? So I think on one side, like, this is our experience from attending these events. Being there is vital for a lot of startups to gain exposure, to meet possible investors, to present their product. But I wonder, what is your perspective to it, like, because we are from different kind of sides of that. So we participate events to find startups and to start working with them. You, on the other hand, you're there to promote yourself. So we are from different sides. How does it look from your side? Is it worth it visiting and spending money, spending so much time on visiting them and trying to promote? Like, give us an overview for those who listens to us and thinking about starting their company, what it costs for them, what will it cost for them?
For sure. Yeah. So with these events, I feel like, so we're still early stage. I feel like we're kind of still figuring out maybe how to get the best use out of these types of events. But no, I do think they're very important because for two aspects. One, like online it's so overly saturated. Like even myself, there's constantly like messages coming in from people, like, and it's very difficult to kind of break through that. Whereas like when at these events, you're just speaking face to face to people, so it's much easier to kind of establish a relationship. Like case in point here, like, you know, like with myself and Pablo, like we spoke in person, and now this is happening. But like, had we not met in person, I probably just like another message amongst like hundreds of messages coming in. So I think they're really important for that standpoint. But like also as well, I suppose maybe, I'm not sure if this is something that many startups would talk about with these, but for something like myself, we're a very small team, and like I kind of right now we're all working remotely, so there is kind of a like with these events, it's a nice sense of actually going out and meeting people and like being in this more, because I think a lot of people these days, especially since COVID, and in the startup world, they kind of just work out of their like house or bedroom or something, or like in a cafe, like, and there's not really that much kind of, I suppose, community aspect to it. So these shows are good for that as well, to kind of bring people together. And it's more of a, even just from like a social standpoint, that people are actually interacting in person. And also like sometimes when you're kind of just in, let's just say you're in your room all day and you're working away on these things, sometimes you can kind of be like, what am I doing? You know, like, why am I doing this? And then it's good to go to these events and see other people that are also like in that boat, you know, that you're not like crazy and that like, this is like something that other people are doing. So it's good for those things. But to bring it back to a business thing standpoint, yeah, no, it's big for exposure, definitely. Cause, like, as I said, otherwise it's difficult to kind of break through the noise just solely online. So I think having physical presence at shows is really good.
And everything depends too, being company talking only, you know, everything depends if you're a B2B or B2C.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're a B2C and you are, imagine, I don't know, you're selling popcorns on internet. If you're very good doing advertisements, selling popcorns, you know, nobody wants to see you, you know, it's because you're selling, that's all. But when you are doing a mix of B2B or some kind of B2C with a connection with B2B and you want to meet companies, is what Caolan is selling. You know, there is another way that you go to sell emails or calls. Or, you know, at the end, it's saturated, you know. You need to send 1,000 call emails to receive one answer, you know. At the end.
Yeah.
And you need to only to go to one meeting and to talk with 10 people, and then that's only super simple.
And there are different type of events, right? There are like events focused on consumers or like end users, and they're most like for entertainment. For that, they create show where the end users come and they can play with products. While events like Web Summit are more like for B2B, where we meet other businesses. But your product, like, let's talk about VoxMail. Your product is kind of connects B2B and B2C part, because while you're offering the product to the companies, the one who benefit from it are the customers, that their customers. Can you give like us an overview how it works, and most importantly, okay, let's start with that, and I will follow up with my question.
Sure. Yeah. So VoxMail, I suppose, it essentially started as kind of a modernization of voicemail, hence the name. And what it essentially allows is it allows customers to leave businesses. It's voice first, so they can leave typed messages, but we're trying to lead with the voice. So it allows the customers to leave voice messages to business, just hit send, and then kind of proceed with the rest of their day. And then what our software will do is it will detect the language the person was speaking, translate it into the business's language, transcribe it. If it's a long message, it will summarize it, and it all just gets wrapped up into an email. And depending on what they were talking about, it gets sent to the appropriate email inbox. So the business will just get an email, and it'll be like, you've received a message from Caolan. Here's his email address. Here's what he said. And the audio file is attached as well. So you can click into that and listen to it back. And then you just hit reply, and that kind of starts the conversation with the customer. So that's how the product works at this moment in time.
Yeah, and you're basically trying to improve how we, the customers, approach customer support, the company. And I wonder, how did you come up with the idea? There should be a story behind it, because usually when people are starting their companies, they're trying to propose their own solution to the existing problem. So how tired you were with this problem that you decided, okay, fuck it, I will create my own company to to solve it?
Sure. So I suppose there's a few different kind of backgrounds to how the company started, but the main thing was I remember there was one day I had an issue with a company. I can't remember what it was, or maybe I just had a question to ask them, and I was like trying to like ask the I think they had a bot on their website. I was trying to ask that wasn't getting anywhere. Maybe I was speaking to like a live chat or something. I'm not sure if that was going anywhere, or I was on hold for like ages and ages. And it was such a basic query I had to ask. I'm pretty sure I spent like 2 hours trying to just ask this question to somebody and get an answer. And I just remember I was just really annoyed about it. And then my friend came over to my apartment later that day, and I was just giving out about this. And he was like, I've just had the same thing happen to me with a different company. And we were like, okay, so he's a software developer as well. We went to college together. And we were like, okay, let's start. So I had a whiteboard in the apartment. So we immediately started like drawing up a solution. We were like, how can we do this? What's a way that we can just easily leave a quick message for the business, and continue on? So that's kind of how it started. To be honest, we drew all that up and we were like, perfect. And then we didn't look at it, I'd say, for like months on end. And then we came back to it and we were like, okay, no, let's actually, I think we probably had further frustrations. We were like, nah, let's build this. So that was kind of the moment that happened that kind of triggered it. But then other kind of aspects of what kind of maybe shaped the product a bit further is, so I worked so that was from the customer standpoint, but then from the business's standpoint, so I worked in customer support for a department store here in Ireland, and it would be kind of more your kind of old school business and kind of traditional, like very heavy on customer support. And then I also at Squid in my old job, and I was like I was kind of the head of tech, so we didn't have a development team. So any technical questions came to me. So there were kind of two different experiences I had. And I noticed with Squid, we get like, because Squid is like a loyalty app. So we have like thousands of users, daily users. So there would be actually a fair amount of messages that came in. And we just had an email open for them. And I'd get emails like stuff like button broken. And that's all they'd say. And it'd be like, well, there's nothing I can do with this. I realized people were very lazy leaving a message. So I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe if we let them kind of speak, they can express it
in details,
much more kind of quickly and go more details. So I thought that'd be good. But another thing I noticed with Squid as well, when I was doing that and that kind of form of messages coming in, because the messages would come in and they would just be these emails, and there was a bit of a separation between like the customer. You kind of forgot there was almost that it was a person behind that. It just kind of seemed like they were just dev tickets that like needed to be fixed and not an actual person, I suppose. Whereas in my other job in the department store, that was quite like in person and phone heavy. So we'd have like lots of people ringing in, and so there's two things. Firstly, I'd have to do our voicemail in the department store, and like I don't know if you've ever had to like go through loads of voice messages on your phone, but like I'd be there with a pen and paper trying to understand what they said, and you try to go back and go back to all of them, and it would take ages to do that as well. And then so I was like, this like voice messages the way they are at the moment is not good for the business. It's just it's like really time consuming to try and pick up what the people are saying. But the big takeaway I got from, sorry, I'll wrap the story up in a second, but the big takeaway I got from working at the department store is when people were on the phone and you could kind of hear them speak, and it humanized them a lot more, and there was a lot more empathy. I felt like I remember this one particular woman who had bought all her Christmas shopping for her grandchildren, and the postal service in Ireland had like lost it or something. And I remember I made it my mission to like get this sorted for Christmas, and it got sorted. But I feel like I wouldn't have done that had I not kind of heard her speak about it and kind of hear the kind of frustration and pain she was in. So I kind of wanted to bring that back to with our product, where like you really kind of had the person behind it, because I felt like from the business perspective, you're almost much more inclined, maybe like subconsciously, to just maybe go the extra mile to help this person when you can kind of feel the person behind it, rather than just like this, as I said, short email that doesn't really explain anything.
There are no challenges that we couldn't overcome. Whether it is immediate infrastructure problems or planning a future project, we won't simply answer your questions. We become a part of your team to help you complete the mission. Our solutions consider the interests of your business and the combined expertise of the industry, as our staff is made up of more than a dozen experts in different areas who share decades of field-tested experience and knowledge with you.
I think that customer support nowadays is broken on so many levels. And in general, as a customer, I feel like most of the time I keep out from finding an actual answer and finding an actual help. Because when I try to, okay, so I have an issue. I have some problem that I couldn't find in FAQ or in the description how to resolve my issue. And I try to approach the company. Think, okay, so I have this unusual thing happen to me. How do I fix that? How can you help me with that? And there is basically no way to connect with the company. There are, and it constantly redirects you to other messages, other pages, things like that. And then when you try to open a ticket, it offers you 100 of pre-existed solutions for you that essentially doesn't help. And I always feel relieved when I find that there is a simple option for in the I don't know, in the footer or something like that, send us a message, and this helps a lot. Like regarding that, you don't have to pick the topic, the theme, the problem, the products where it happened. You just send us a message. Thanks God you have it. Okay, hear my message. But most of the time they don't reply. So, but that's another story. And I think that finding a better way to communicate between us, the customers, and the business is the must-have interaction, must-have solution, must-have feature, and we need to find a better way for that. And I'm not entirely sure that having options to call directly, like to leave a voice message, is the best solution, but I think it's still better than anything that we currently have. Most importantly, I think that it helps to deliver my message in a better way to a right people? Because in this form, I can make sure that someone will listens or reads if you provide a transcript for it, and find an appropriate person to help me with that. Because, for example, recently we had this tiny issue with our own website when it suddenly shut down for a small period of time, like for 2 minutes, but it's inaccessible. And Kirill, our co-founder, he spent hours finding the issue, trying to discover what is happening, and then he discovered that it's not on our side. This is something on AWS side, and he contacted customer support. He sent them the message, and they replied them some stupid thing, or redirected it to someone else, and they redirected it to someone else. And then the answer was that basically our website cannot handle more than 200 bytes requests, which is crazy. It's impossible. But it was the answer. And it took him like weeks of back and forth with customer support for them to admit that there is an issue in some of their, I don't know, like on one of their layers with AWS App Runner, that there is an issue and they will fix it. And so this is what was far from being optimal, right? So instead of like sending a message, giving them the details and receive the solution. And what I'm trying to say is that the problem is not just in how we find an option to send a message to the support, but how do you process this inside the company? Have you thought about it with your team? Like how you plan to deliver the message, and if the person you are delivering this message to is the correct one? Do you help the companies with that on their side?
Yeah, so I suppose one thing that we have, like obviously there's probably lots of times where similar situation, even if you ring a business and you're on hold for like 20 minutes or so, and then you get through and they're like, you tell them your problem, and they're like, okay, perfect, I'll redirect you to this person. And then you're on hold again for another 10 minutes. And then they're like, so what's your problem? Like, and you have to repeat it again, which is just very frustrating for a customer. But yeah, so with our tech, we allow for the businesses, because we understand businesses are going to have different people who deal with different issues. So we have a feature where we let the business kind of list out all the different like inboxes or people in their company that deal with the problems, and they can kind of categorize each one of them and kind of maybe put keywords in for each of them. So then when the message comes through, it checks through their list and who they've set up, and it will direct the message to the appropriate person based on that.
Cool. Have you made any kind of research on how people interact with different types of customer support options? Like how people prefer to connect? Even if the option is not there, like of all possible options, possible imaginable options, what would be the best options for people to contact customer support?
I think the broad answer to this is, I think most people, I suppose, regardless of the exact form, most people want to speak to a person, that's kind of like the main thing. So like very few people, and I suppose myself included, are like satisfied with like a chatbot or like something like they want to like get through and speak to an actual person. So I had actually, and I was speaking to a big company here in Ireland, and a few days ago, and the head of their support, and she was saying an interesting thing, which is like, so they have like a chatbot on their site that kind of provides, it's an AI powered, it provides like responses back, and if the response isn't what you want, you can click to then actually put through to an agent. And she was saying that nobody is like, doesn't click on that button to like go to the agent. Like when their questions are completely answered by the bot, they'll always still click on that so they can just hear someone else, an actual person, tell them the same answer. So I think broadly, the first thing is people just want an actual person. So that's kind of the main thing. As regards to kind of the channel as to how to reach out, I suppose that kind of differs from person to person. I personally myself will just ring a business. That's like my go-to, is to just try to call them. I do know though that most people of my generation are very uncomfortable with phone calls and do not enjoy doing that at all. So I feel like they'd probably be more prefer kind of an asynchronous conversation like the one that we offer, where they can just leave their message and the other person will get back to them, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There is the thing called like something like call anxiety or something like that. And I saw a number of TikToks and Twitter on videos on Twitter where a person records herself while she's preparing to make a call to a room service in her hotel just to order some snacks into her room or something like that. And she's shaking just from the idea that she needs to pick up a phone, like, and ask for room service. Okay, can I order this and that for my breakfast? And then she puts her phone and she prepares, she rehearsed, make a rehearsal before, then she make a call and this shake it again. Yeah, I did it. I kind of experienced this myself, not as extreme, like, yeah, not to this level, but still, I prefer calling a company and talking to a person and explaining them my issue. For example, like, thanks God, IKEA still have their a phone number available on their website to call them. But even though it's more difficult to find now than it was before, but they still have this option available on the website. And funny thing, I have an IKEA store not far from my home, and I was talking to the service there at the store, and then I asked them, give me the number I can call to resolve my issue. And they went to the website and they spent like 5 minutes searching for their own phone number to provide to me. So the companies are burying it,
for sure, yeah.
While for some reason, and I can understand why they're doing this, because it's time is money, and when you have a person whose only job to answer the calls, talking to people, and you have to pay them, while on the other hand you can create hundreds of articles that try to cover all the possible issues, and you create a chatbot that looks through these articles and generates a best possible answer. But in my case, not a single time when a chatbot helped me with anything. Like, never. I don't remember. because if I have a problem and I need to contact a support, this is probably something that cannot be resolved just like that, because I'm not stupid, right? I can read your FAQ and I can find my solution on the internet or something like that. And then and then I have to deal with chatbot that provide me, did you try to unplug and plug again? Yeah, of course I did.
The problem here is that at the end, we're back again to the same problem that we were talking at the beginning. This is a company, and at the end, you need to decide. So, because you don't need to have service support in most of the cases. You only have a service support because the others have a service support. So then you are this company, and then you want to spend this amount of money of the profit to have a service support to give a better quality, because the customers are going to say, in case that this is a B2C, that this most of the cases is because of B2C. If you don't have service support, then I am not going to use you. I'm going to go to another company, because we have Excel cases like, for example, Meta or Google, where there is the most horrible service support ever in the world, and the people is still using those products because this is a different themes, is a B2B. But in this case, you are forced to have a service support, but you are forced to have the minimum service support because what Caolan was telling at the beginning, we are a little company. Imagine that now you need to have a number of people giving service support, 2 or 3 persons, because you have a worldwide product and you are 15 people in the company, but you need to have 3 guys. 1 of every 5 is in service support. This is crazy in the Spencer. So the chatbot is the simple and easy solution for the companies. Then this kind of product, like for example VoxMail, is super good because at the end what you offer is a simple and cheap solution for companies to be able to have this service support. If you go to companies like IKEA or companies like Microsoft, they have enough income, enough revenue to have this huge amount of these telephone companies that they know that 6 or 7% of their revenue is going to be always to this service support because they have everyone is calling to a company, a telephone company, everyone. So but this is different. We need to differentiate what kind of company, what size of company, and what are the expenses. Because Caolan, what is the scope of your companies? Little companies, medium, or big companies?
So I think what you touched on there, I think right now, like our product is better suited to kind of maybe like smaller, medium-sized businesses. So we're trying to strike that balance right between, like, as you said, the business doesn't have the time or resources to be like picking up phone calls all day long or like on live chats. But they also don't want to become too disconnected from their customers that there's just a chatbot there and there's kind of like a wall between them. So it probably would be kind of your smaller to medium-sized businesses who can't, I suppose, either are doing a lot of the support themselves. So like with my business, if someone's coming in with questions, like it's probably still going, a lot of it's still just going to go to me. And I can't be answering phones during the day. Like, so there's businesses my size, but even like businesses who maybe just have a small support team and kind of maybe needs kind of a bit of assistance on top of that or something for out of hours, they wouldn't have 24-hour support and stuff. And I think those scaled businesses are probably the ones that can avail the most out of our product as it is right now. And because you're right, like the bigger companies, there's two things. They do have huge support teams, and so they do have the resources. But you're right as well. Like they're such established companies that even with like terrible customer support, they still survive. So it's smaller companies can't kind of live off their, I suppose, size and notoriety as much as these bigger companies can. Because like I looked up a list of the worst ranked customer support in Ireland, and like the top 10 companies are like the top biggest like earning companies in Ireland. So you know what I mean? Like they're still they're still surviving. So yeah.
And one question for you is, because I don't know, what is the biggest, I don't know, problem? I don't want to say problem because it's not problem, because I think that when there is a problem, the best thing with a company is to find a way to fix the problem. What is the biggest challenge that you have? Because I can imagine that in 1-2 years, there will be let's call human bots, I don't know how to call that is able to have a correct humanized voice, not like what we have today, this kind of calls that you have. You want to have the option A or B or C, and you say B and say, sorry, I don't understand. Can you B? You feel like stupid doing that, but okay. So, but all of us, we know that in 2-3 years there will be a bot that is able to understand perfectly, that is able to even to change the intonation, because this is important. Because as soon as I understand that I am talking with a person and I say something stupid, I say, what? So these kind of themes, make humanize the bot. Do you think that this is a challenge for you, or this is something good for you because you can go to this path?
Yeah, well, look, it's tough to kind of see where technology will be, I suppose, in like 2 years, because right now, like stuff like in this, like with AI, is just accelerating at a crazy rate. And I do feel, though, it's hard to say, but I feel that even with the strongest levels and it could develop a lot further than it is now. I still feel like people can detect quite easily whether they're speaking to an actual person or they're speaking to a robot. And I think a lot of people, to be honest, like a big thing I kind of get from what I've spoken to in like businesses, I think a lot of people almost just want to be heard by somebody, rather it's just that like there's an aspect of that more so. Like as I said, that company I'd spoken to, their bot like answers the questions for like 90% of the people, but they all continue to speak. They all choose the option to then speak to somebody. And I think it is just an aspect of, sometimes it's even to just kind of get something off your chest and like say it to another person. And I think that's always going to still be there. The AI could get stronger and stronger, but I think most people will still always know if they're speaking to a person or a bot. And I think especially when like, if someone's coming to contact a business and they have an issue, I think a lot of the times their frustration can only really be heightened when they see that they're interacting with a bot, because it seems like they're kind of being pushed to the side a little bit by the company and they don't actually want to listen to them.
I with you, but there is so big amount of biography, a big amount of books that they're talking about science fiction, something like this today, because when you start to read those books, then again, sometimes when I did that, the other day I was reading 1984 again, I was telling, wow, fuck, it's so present, everything that is was happening there. But okay, everything that he was telling in these books, when you read these books, you said, man, so these, let's call human bots, are something like accepted, no? So, and I have to imagine that there will be a moment in the society, in the human society, that in 2, 3, 10, 5 years, I don't know, I cannot give a number, because the dot bots are going to be accepted. What I mean is that, okay, I know that it's a bot, but I know that there is no humans working here. It's like, for example, when you open a case with Meta, you know that there is no humans. So you are screwed, because there is a process. There is a pipeline, A, B, C, D, whatever it is, there is no humans. And then, I have to imagine that at some point, the humans will accept that in case that you need to open a support case, there will be no more humans, because it's how it is. It's not like today, I want to talk with a human, I want to talk with a human, I want to talk with a human, because it's what happened to all of us. But one day will be like that. What is going to be then the companies? How are going to, these kind of companies like yours? What is the future idea? What do you think about that?
Sure. I suppose, well, with those kind of things, we kind of will take them as they come. Like what we're trying to do is like I don't want to like be knocking on AI. Like our product uses AI. Like I'm not hiding behind that. So we want to try leverage it in the way that is the most human possible. So as that kind of development comes along, we're not going to just like, we'll try and leverage that, but to kind of bring a human aspect to it. So we'll continue to do that as developments come along.
I think the most important thing that in what you're trying to do, like, is a mission. I don't know if you thought about it, and if you didn't, I want some royalties from the idea.
Sure.
So reintroduce for the companies a way for them, because this is not about, in the end, how and who processes my request inside the company. Is an option for me to be heard, and for option for me to, so that I know that company is welcoming my request, and they are ready to hear me. Because when I go to a website, to a company, and I see the phone number right on the front page, I immediately understand that there are people who are trained to listen to me and to work with me and to help me whenever I call them. And this is immediately increases my trust to that company. And even if it's not the best kind of company, I still see this, they have this open gate for me to enter. And this helps a lot, because when I come to another website and I encounter an issue and I have to spend many clicks, many pages just to find a way to contact you, this increases my frustration with their product. And I immediately, okay, first, I have the problem. Second, you're not helping me to fix this problem. Why am I still working with you? Okay. And so I think this is the main mission for your company, like to introduce this open gate, open arms that companies should have towards us, the customers, and basically learn how to welcome us again, like make customer support great again, or whatever. Things like that. I think that's the main mission that needs to be there. And I don't care who, on the other hand, will deal with that. Whether it will be artificial intelligence who will delegate to a proper human, or it will create their own solution and will reply to me with a good solution. At the end, this is not what matters. What matters is for me to be able to contact you. Do you think this is true? This is what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, for sure. So like in the kind of day and age now of AI, I suppose that's most other kind of products or so will kind of use the AI as maybe like a wall between the business and the customer, where we're trying to see how we can leverage it best to kind of be a bridge between the business and the customer, to make it, as you said, more kind of open door for the customer, but then leverage the AI to make that easier for the business to actually manage, you know? So yeah, that's definitely kind of what we're trying to do. We're trying to, as I said, bring the kind of customer business closer together again, but in the kind of, I suppose, most efficient way possible, you know?
Yeah, I agree. All right, Caolan, thank you for sharing. This is very interesting. I still have a lot of questions, and I'd like to learn more. And I hope you have something that we could share with our listeners. The listeners, if they want to learn more about it, what would it be like? Do you have blog posts, webpage? Where can they find and learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so I suppose you can. Two things. You can go on to our website, and so that's voxmail.com with a hyphen, and that will, firstly, we have the tool on our side as well, so people can feel free to leave messages on that to kind of get an idea as to how the product would work. Well, we also have some kind of blogs on articles on the website where you can learn more. But then I suppose as well, if everyone wants to learn more, you can follow me on LinkedIn or even send me a message, and I'm always open to talk to people. So I need to be an open door myself if I'm trying to sell that to businesses, you know. So I'm always there to be contacted. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thanks for sharing. Those who listens to us, if you think that we did great this time, make sure to give us likes and subscribe for another episode. We'll still have many more coming, and we passed this 50 episodes threshold. So far, so good. Thank you for listening, and we will see you and hear you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, and automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go. Generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.